People sometimes come and ask us St Helens for our approach to the Bible, and I guess they're thinking of techniques or things we do. And the more I've thought about it, the more I think that the most important thing we do is accidental, and that's just that we repeat books again and again and again. And it makes us sound a lot less clever when you say it like that, as all we're doing is doing the same book again. But I think that may be what's at the heart of the Bible ministry here, that goes back to Dick Lucas when he was here, and that we still do now. So for instance, I've been here 13 years, and I think I've taught Mark's Gospel all the way through 10 times. Did it 4 times in Christianity Explored. I preached right through it once at the Covent Garden Talks, and then I've done it with the students 6 or 7 times at least, over and over again. And it just means that there's a lot of people around who've worked on the same book again and again. So in students, probably 3 out of the 4 senior leaders have taught Mark before several times. In my little group of Bible study leaders, I think 6 out of 8 of them have taught it before. And even in the groups with the students, there'd be some students going around for their 4th year who remember doing Mark when they were students as well. So we're doing stuff again and again and getting to know it better. I think there are lots of benefits to doing books again and again. I think you get to work out what you don't understand. So I know coming back to Mark, I've had a 3-year break with no Mark's Gospel. I'm back in Mark this year, and I know already the things that I was not happy with last time I did it, the things that I want to work harder on. I think it means you have a much better sense of which points to thump home really hard, where the really big applications are. You have a better sense of which surprises to leave until later in the series, rather than giving everything away in week 1 and then leaving your co-leader or the next preacher to try and make something of the next chapters. I think it means with students and with Bible study leaders, I know why I want them to work really hard in preparation. I know that if they work hard on this, it will pay really big dividends later on. I've been thinking as well about why we don't like repeating. There's a fear, isn't there, of being boring. So when we tell students, I know with students it should be easier because they're new and they're fresh every year, but even then when we tell students we'd like them to study Mark's Gospel, they always complain. They always say, oh no, I know about Jesus, I know that. But actually, when they start reading chapter 1 and then chapter 2 and then chapter 3 after chapter 2, and as they read through, they say things like, I had no idea Jesus said that, or Jesus is completely different from how I imagined him. And quite a few of them, 3 years later, will tell us that very quietly they put their trust in Jesus for the first time, and often the same people who moaned about doing Mark's Gospel. I think the other reason we don't like to repeat is because of Acts 20, where Paul says that he taught the whole counsel of God, and that's why he was innocent of the blood of the people he was teaching. And I guess I want to ask whether teaching the whole counsel of God means teaching every single book of the Bible at the same speed, normally too quickly, in a 5-year period, that we've got to jump around and got to cover as much as possible. And that sometimes teaching the whole counsel of God might mean we choose to teach something in depth and something that we know really well and have really got our teeth into, rather than jumping around lots of different places superficially. So I find in Mark's Gospel, I'm able to teach really forcefully about faith in Jesus and who Jesus is, because I've been teaching them repeatedly, and I know what it is, or I have a better idea, I hope, what it is that the counsel of God is in that passage. We don't just teach Mark or John, we teach with students. We teach a gospel in their first year, we teach Romans in their second year, we teach a Bible overview in their third year, and we do that with everyone who's new to London, new to our church, regardless of their age. But we do teach other books, that may surprise people. In the 6 p.m. congregation, we reckon we have people for 5 to 7 years, and so we will preach to that sort of rotation. So by being here a decade, I've background in Colossians, doing that again, background in Philippians, and that's different from what they're getting in their Bible studies. With our more settled congregation, we are moving around different things in Bible studies, different things Tuesday lunchtime. But again, I think we're not afraid to come back to books that a lot of people in the room would have studied in some way, in a women's Bible study group or in RML when they were a bit younger, and we'll come back and we'll take it at a different speed. And the Lord always has new wonderful things for us to see, and there's real strengths in doing it again. I've been trying to think about how I can make better use of repeating books, how I can keep coming back to things. So here's a few personal resolutions that I hope would transfer elsewhere. I'm aware that we're unusual in London. People move through quite quickly, and I'm unusual in working with students. They move through quite quickly as well. But here are some personal resolutions. I think I could take more chances to use a book I'm working on in lots of different places. So I'm doing one-to-one Bible study, I'm doing sermons, I'm speaking in CUs, I'm speaking for church weekends away, I'm doing training type talks. And rather than choosing different material for each one, I can just keep working on the same book, going back to a book I know well and getting extra benefit out of it. I've done that with John's Gospel in the last few months that I did for 3 years with students, and it's been everywhere, John, in the last few weeks, and I've really benefited, I think, from doing that. I think I don't insist enough on what I'll speak on. So students tend to come and say, we want you to teach on this, 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 and this, and it needs to be from Zechariah. And I think instead I need to say more, you can have Mark chapter 8, is that okay? And then they'll get a better talk from it. I think I often waste an opportunity when I come back to material, and I think I do what David Jackman on Cornhill always told us not to do, and I microwave an old talk rather than studying again fresh. So this year, being back in Mark's Gospel, I've tried really hard to throw away all the old notes and start again fresh. And obviously I remember lots from before, but I want to do new work, and that makes it a much better opportunity. Alongside that one, I try and seek out opportunities to be challenged on my understanding of a book I've done before. So I've been working on Mark 6 recently, where about 6 years ago, I had a kind of exciting new theory that I won't tell you, that I was very excited about and persuaded lots of people that I was right. And this year, I've got a group of students to work on it with me. I've got my Bible studies to work on it with me. I've got a group of ministry trainees to work on it with me. And they've challenged me, and I've been forced to choose between two options, and I think I was wrong those years ago. And I think I'm much clearer now on how it all fits together. But having that sort of dynamic interaction with other Bible teachers has been really, really helpful. And then my final resolution is to come back to old material, but in different ways. So if I've worked on Mark's Gospel or John's Gospel, I don't have to re-preach it the same way I did last time. And we can have a very detailed series in one chapter that could go for 8 weeks. I can have a set of evangelistic talks. I can certainly have some carol services based out of John's Gospel this year. We can do some training on it so that I'm reusing Bible handling, but the material is fresh and different for people. And even if it's the same congregation, but we're 3 years later and we're coming back to a chapter and doing it in depth, I think that feels really fresh and there's new things to see.